You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
What's up, the internet? It's producer Kyle. How's it going? T-shirts coming soon that say "What's up, the internet?" It's in stores this week. A show where we talk to you about books that are in stores this week. Now, normally it's Dan and me and Jay. Jay is in North Carolina. I have to text him tonight to find out how close he is to Boone, North Carolina, which is the most popular city on the face of the planet if you're into college football this week. Because Appalachian State beat the mighty Texas A&M, and everybody wants their Appalachian State gear, including me. But that's a different thing. And then Dan's computer has decided to take today and essentially turn into the climate of Southern California, entirely too hot and on fire all the time. So he's on his cell phone, and we're praying that that's going to work. But in the meantime, if those things should fail, I will just sit here and stare at the screen at you until we're done. So if you have any kind of magic that you can cast on Dan's technology, we would appreciate it. We'll be right back for In Stores This Week. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Whew.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my biggest worry, is I was going to bring you in. It was going to be like the old days when we first started doing this show together, and you couldn't hear me or see me, and you'd have to leave and come back. It was a whole big mess.
Yep.
We've come a long way from that for the most part.
Yes.
How do you feel about Appalachian State, Dan?
I was impressed, but then you got to wonder about, who they beat. I mean,
they were the number 6 team in the country with a number 2 recruiting class.
I know they got to be hurting right now.
Right. It's almost like when they beat Michigan that time. Like, it's almost as big of a deal.
Yeah. But see, I'm looking at the pros, and I'm looking at what the AFC South, which had 4 teams, none of which got a victory, and 2 of them played each other.
So I'm in this fantasy football league with Jesse James from Jesse James Comic and Tom Hutchison from Big Dog Inc. and a bunch of other fans, a bunch of other comic book people who are fans. And I made the fatal mistake of starting Dak Prescott. Now, my other option was Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, you made the fatal mistake of owning Dak Prescott.
I forgot about the draft.
I know.
But I had Dak Prescott. And so it's, do I start him or Marcus Mariota? And it turns out when you're faced with that question, the correct answer is just resign.
Yep.
I wound up winning by 1 point on the back of Leonard Fournette.
Oh, man. It was a football week.
Yeah, I mean, your Panthers almost won.
Yep.
They actually deserve to win.
That's with 4 fumbles from center, and just if they could get their S together, they could be good. But
correct, but they're starting a former Brown, which doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Sean Butler, Kenneth Bird, what's up?
Hey guys, I can't read the comments today, so because it doesn't show up on my phone.
I tried to explain this to you on the last show. There's a thing you can click at the bottom that will show you the comments, but then you won't be able to see anything else.
Okay.
So in terms of goodness, it's not very high.
Right.
So I guess we'll start with the show. Dan, what do you think of this week's color scheme? This has been an ongoing conversation we've been having. This week is red and light blue.
That's light blue?
Super light. It's whatever the shade lighter than Robin's egg is.
Because right now it looks like Ohio State.
It's not. It's actually blue. But it's what, like I said, whatever a shade lighter than Robin's egg is.
Okay.
Because you put the Robin's egg in there and it looks too dark, like you couldn't read anything. It was very weird. I think I need to change the red if we're going to do Robin's egg blue.
Yes.
Jeff Wedding, greetings to the chat back from vacation. What's new this week?
Books. Comic books.
Mm-hmm. So let's start with the comic books. We'll start with, this is Robin Hood, Grim Fairy Tales Robin Hood Baba Yaga.
It was kind of nice to see a character that I've worked on before again, because Baba Yaga actually was a pretty good villain. And this was a pretty good, I liked the art on it. It felt different. It almost felt in the Gary Frank kind of feel to it. The story didn't go a whole lot. I mean, it felt like it's a setup for something else, and they really are jamming the H.P. Lovecraft into the universe, which is funny because I did that first back, years ago with the Alice in Wonderland, the Wonderland miniseries, but now they're trying to bring Cthulhu and the old gods and stuff in. So it's like, all right, but it was a decent comic. I actually thought it read pretty well.
Jay, how far are you guys from Boone, North Carolina? And can you get me some Appalachian State gear? Just throwing that out there. All right. My thing is, and I can tell you, having read this book, what Jay would say.
Uh-huh.
I really liked it, but why is there got to be so much Cthulhu? And he ain't wrong.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Lovecraft in this book.
Yeah, they totally embraced it.
Yeah, I will say this. I love the Baba Yaga. I think it's a great antagonist. Whenever it gets used in comics. So I think it's a really fun position to put Robin Hood in. And I like Zenescope's Robin Hood quite a lot. In fact, it's probably my favorite Zenescope character overall.
Yeah.
Just because I think the way they've told the Robin Hood stories over time has been incredibly strong. I didn't feel like this book had a whole lot of juice. I would have liked it to have, I don't know, had more caffeine or something to kind of give it some get up and go. But overall, I thought it was a fun read. And, a lot of the things I normally complain about with Zenescope titles, I can't complain about with this one.
Yep. Not every character was the exact same. The art was all right and consistent through the whole book. It didn't feel way, way, way long. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Immortal Red Sonja, number 6.
New story arc is what they're saying, but it just kind of continues the cursed chainmail shirt trying to restore the kingdom, though the shirt doesn't talk to her this episode. Spoiler. It's pissed.
Yeah. Can you imagine putting on your shirt and it giving you the silent treatment? Like, I put on my Batman shirt and instead of going down, it's just like,
We're just gonna let him have it.
I didn't like that, Dan.
No.
I wanted the shirt to be like trying to talk to other people who can't hear it.
Yeah.
Hey, can you tell her I'm giving her the silent treatment?
But he can't talk to anybody else.
Right. But like that's his way of kind of annoying her.
Yeah.
And making sure she knows he's angry at her. Like, I would have loved that little slice of humor.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was just kind of a normal Red Sonja book for me. It didn't really feel like this series so much.
Well, I mean, you had the Green Knight and Merlins, plural. But yeah, it felt a little slower than the other ones.
Yeah, I've been really high on this series. But this book didn't feel like it was part of it. It felt like it was any other Red Sonja.
Yeah.
So it needed that extra level of humor or something to, I don't know.
Hey guys, while I'm here on my phone, do me a favor. I'm putting in the effort here. My PC's dead. I'm here on a phone. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, those things down there in the corner, please.
Right.
Because Nick usually pops in here and he starts saying that stuff. So I'm trying to get ahead of that.
Right.
Hit the like, subscribe, so that when Nick comes in, you can go, I already did.
Click the bell on there so that you get the notifications. YouTube's notifications are way better than Facebook's notifications. I don't know if you know that, but YouTube's a lot more reliable in that regard. So maybe do that.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you feel like giving us money, become a member. We'll talk about membership services a little bit later in the show. But, you could always sign up to be a member. Costs less than a trade paperback. So, and actually, 2 of the tiers cost less than this next book.
I can't
Castle
remember.
Full of Blackbirds.
This is actually picking up from a previous Hellboy story. It's about Sarah May, the character that has precognitive abilities, and she is going to New York to study at a school where Miss Brooks is supposed to be. But we get some really creepy ass vibes off of this school. Like, why do people keep disappearing? Why does it feel like sometimes the school's empty? Why was it closed when they got there and then someone came along and said, no, it's open? There's some weirdness going on in this book. It's a pretty light opening for a comic, but it's intriguing.
It's pretty light for a Hellboy story, like across the board.
Yeah.
That was the thing that when we first started reading it, it took me a minute to kind of come back around to, okay, this is part 2 of this other series that I had read. It was very much this is the connections I need to make.
Yeah.
And then when I did that, the book made more sense. However, and again, this is my take on it, is that one of the shortcomings that the Hellboy universe can have is that there's so much of it sometimes that the connections are a little hard to come by. Yeah, and they get a little too exponential, right?
Yeah.
Get to something, do a thing. There's a scene in here where we kind of learn what the Castle Full of Blackbirds means. And by the time we had gotten to that point, it kind of pushed everything forward. So it just took a minute to get there.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting series. I think it's just a slow start.
Yep. Masquerade #1, Kevin Smith written. Do you want to go first, Dan?
Go ahead, because I suddenly can't remember this book.
So this is a story about what you find in this story is it's about a part of town that's maybe not so great. The Trench, yes.
Yeah.
And in that part of the town, a lot of people get away with a lot of things. And there is this TikToker and YouTube star who is bringing them down, a la To Catch a Predator. And you kind of learn that, and then you're immediately transported to another happening in the trench where it becomes clear that there's someone who is trying to clean up the trench. And the story kind of goes from there. The series has a lot of humor. It has a lot of pretty good action. And it definitely leaves you hanging for issue 2, wanting to know more.
And adult themes.
Lots of adult themes. Well, it's written by Kevin Smith.
Right.
I mean,
it's kind of tame for a Kevin Smith.
That's true. this is a guy who did a whole movie about a donkey show. So, speaking of which, I'm getting texts right now from the Clerks 3 premiere. But needless to say, this book leaves a lot on the bone to find out more, and there's some very interesting twists at the end.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it. It was a quick read. It was it wasn't, I wouldn't call it a light read, but it wasn't a hard read like some of the other books we had. So
Right. Yeah, I liked it well enough. I'm interested. I want to see what happens with the next issue. You know, the powers the character has, or however that works, it's interesting. And I just want to know if you feel that perhaps the first guy she messes with might have been someone we're supposed to recognize. Had that look.
You mean someone whose prosecutor passed away this afternoon?
Yes.
I mean, maybe, now that you say that. I didn't immediately make that connection when I was reading it, but now that you say that, it's possible.
It has that look, that feel that,
Definitely does.
I feel your pain.
I'm kind of shocked that I didn't make that connection, but yeah. All right. We're moving on.
All right.
Young Hellboy number 2. I will say this. I liked the first one. I did not like this one.
I was okay with this one, but it was a little strange.
It felt like they were forcing their hand a little bit. If you're going to make Hellboy an all ages character, Itty Bitty Hellboy was how you do that.
Not the Scarlet Crab?
No. This felt like we're taking an all ages character and putting him into an adult situation.
Yeah.
And if I'm being super honest, to me it felt like it just felt incongruous the whole time. It could have been really nice to be like, okay, this is Hellboy. He's young, he's immature, and he's coming up against these things. But instead, it just felt like we're just going to throw this person who has no right being here into this situation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got the whole sickness going on, but you also get Lobster Johnson, and that improves every book that he's in.
It's true.
So I'll take Lobster Johnson. That's just,
Right.
Wow, that sounds bad when you say it that way.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
What up, cool gamer? All right. So we're kind of flying through books here. We're not used to pacing without Jay.
Yeah, we need to slow down. We're supposed to be on for an hour.
Right. We're flying through books here. But we're going to take a quick break before we go on to the next 4 books.
All right.
And I'm going to talk to everybody about membership services here on The Experience. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a little button you can click that says join. And if you click join, you can become a member of The Experience's member group. And what does that get you? Well, it gets you exclusive content from myself and Jen King and Nancy McCann and Henri and others, including a new show that I am filming, producing, starring in, everything, called Producing a Collection. That will be exclusive to our members. But you also get like members only live chats, members only polls, things inside our YouTube channel, and access to our members only Discord, which is just a chat server where you can chat with other Experience fans and viewers about things. The last thing I want to mention though with that is there's other little perks that maybe haven't been getting the big plug. Like we have custom emotes. If you watch Comic Collectibles, you know about the Recap Rex or the Rex Cap, which is where Rex goes back through and tells you every book they've already talked about. Again, we have a Recap Rex emote. We have a station emote for Rock and Robbie. We have Henri Compton going, buy it, call it as you see it, which is his catchphrase. We have all of these great little emotes and little bonus things that are there, and we're adding more of that all the time. So if you're a member, you get access to all this stuff. We had our first members only hangout on Friday, which basically it resulted in Jen and I hanging out with a few of our viewers playing Sinking Ship, which is, you're not allowed to call it Hangman anymore.
Did Jen get her members only jacket in time? She was going to find one.
We are really struggling against that members only jacket problem. We found several. Some were too big for Miss Jen, and they were all way too small for me. It's been a real problem, Dan. The 80s were not a time of varying sizes. But, check out membership services. It'd be really helpful. We'd appreciate you. It's the biggest thing that you as a viewer can do to help support the experience, other than going to and shopping at your local comic book shop.
I want an emote.
We'll get you one.
Like a Dan rant or something.
Yeah. I think I'm going to do one that says, "Let Dan Wickline write, ... and it's just your face."
All right.
Because it's always, we should have Dan write a Batman, or we should have Dan write blah, blah, blah. It really is a thing. So.
Cool.
All right. Moving on. Star Trek Lower Decks #1. Have you watched Star Trek Lower Decks on the Paramount Plus?
But my God, was this a love letter to Next Generation?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that's what this was. I mean, it's just a nod to all the weird ass episodes of Next Generation with, references to the holodeck episodes and, and I'm just stunned by it, how much they tied into the Next Generation.
Yeah, no, it's, I felt like if Rick and Morty had a baby with Star Trek TNG, that's what this would be.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. Like, I didn't realize this was a movie or a show.
Yeah.
When I started reading it, and now that I know this is a show, like, I will probably watch this before I get to She-Hulk. And I don't even like Star Trek, but I like this book so much that I want to get involved in this universe a little bit.
I was a huge Next Generation fan when it came out. I watched all the episodes. I knew them. I read the books. I had a crush on Tasha Yar until they killed her. All of that. And but I haven't revisited it in a very long time. So to come across this that's referencing the old noir detective episode or the one with Moriarty, it's like, oh, wow. And then I remember those episodes and, and then you got like the A story and the B story, though I'm not sure which one is the A and which one's the B. You got the lower deck people, and then you have the crew, or the command crew of the Cerritos. And it's very strange that it's named the Cerritos because it's a city out here in LA or in Southern California. But and I don't know which one I'm supposed to want to follow more, but they're both pretty good storylines.
Right. I That's why I think I liked it. It was, I always felt like Star Trek took itself pretty seriously, even when it didn't take itself seriously.
Yeah.
Right. There were episodes of the show where they were definitely just like, let's do this cocaine fueled thing, essentially, is what they came up with in the writer's room. But that the show itself always took itself super seriously.
Yeah.
Even if the content wasn't that. This feels like, nah, man. We know what we are, and we're here to have fun and do a space romp. Like, this feels like if they were just going to make an Orville comic, what the Orville comic should be. And the Orville comic is not this, and it makes me sad.
Well, I was impressed by this. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. All right. So True Cult, which we read issue 2. Okay, like we did it.
Yeah.
Neither of us liked issue 1.
Right.
But we read issue 2.
Jay liked issue 1, and I thought, well, I didn't realize Jay wasn't going to be here, so I made sure we included issue 2. I don't know what the hell's going on with this book.
I don't know if this book knows what the hell's going on with this book.
Yeah. I know it's supposed to be True Cult, but they even put it in the indices as TRV KV.
Right.
And
that's how it's spelled. It's just not how you're supposed to pronounce it.
This whole second episode just didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you.
And it's definitely not where I thought it was going to go.
It is a pickup directly from the end of the last episode or last issue.
Yes.
But if the last issue made no sense, this issue is certainly not going to help.
Yeah. I don't know why they got abducted. I don't understand that they got abducted.
Right. There's some Karens at play.
Yeah. And someone's got a gun now that it shouldn't have a gun. And then you look at the cover for number 3 and it's like, well, how does that happen?
Right. This doesn't feel like the kind of book IDW would normally publish.
Right.
And I think as a result, that really doesn't help it. It's probably not getting the editing it needs. So, all right. I just realized I left a very important book out of the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, really?
Yes. So before we do Reveler one shot.
Okay.
Let's talk about Vampirello Mind Warp number 1.
I got a lot of thoughts on this one.
Go ahead.
I liked the story. I didn't like it until the end. I was like, okay, I kind of like the kid who was helping her by accident or, who got involved. I didn't quite get the point of the story for a while. I'm not sure why they decided to use the costume she wore for a little while that nobody seemed to like. I thought the art was good except for Vampirella's face. She didn't look attractive through most of it. I'm not sure why there's a 2-page spread where suddenly everybody's naked, because that didn't seem to be necessary. But the big surprise twist at the end suddenly got me back, which is really bizarre because normally I'm not the guy that does that. I'm like, you got to hook me. You got to bring me along. And there was enough little things going on but when the twist happened, I went, oh, okay, this is weird, but I'm kind of in for it now. So I don't know how it worked, but I didn't care for the book through most of it, and then suddenly I liked it at the end.
I didn't care for the book through most of it, and then didn't care for the book through all of it. And part of that is because by the time we get to the 2-page spread where everyone's just all of a sudden naked, you've lost me. So I'm no longer paying enough attention for you to win me back. Right? Like, by that point, I'm just kind of skimming and scrolling and just going through it.
Yeah.
You got to give me something in the first half of the book that makes me look for a payoff in the second half of the book. Even if your story arc is going through the exposition, the building moment, the pinnacle, the payoff, like the normal, what do they call that, Dan? The normal steps of storytelling.
Yeah. Normal story arc.
You got to give me something in that first bit that is going to pay off at the end. Even if you're doing that over 4 or 5 issues, every issue still has to follow that format. And this didn't. Like, in the first half of the book, you find out who the woman is that's hired the guy to go after Vampirella. So it's not like you're finding that out in the second half of the book.
No.
There is nothing in that first half that makes you wonder why. And so the second half gets skimmed over, which sucks. Because I bet, and I think this story in particular had the makings to be really great. Who writes this one? I'm going to blank on the name.
I can't look it up.
I can pull it up real fast here. Jeff Parker. I really like Jeff Parker. So, like, everything here should be right. And it just wasn't quite. So now, when we go to read issue 2, I'm coming into it as I read issue 1, kinda. And it's going to make issue 2 have to work that much harder. And what's been great about Dynamite in recent history is that they've done that, right? Betty Page, Alien Agenda, Pantha, some of these books that issue 1 was like, by the time you get to issue 2 and 3, you're in. Jennifer Blood was a great example of that. So I'm definitely in to keep reading, but like it just felt like this was one of those where I could have skipped issue 1 and started with issue 2 and probably been just as well.
I think they could have might have been able to skip issue 1. Yeah, I think they could have condensed issue 1 down and got to that ending and then give us a little, but yeah, the thing that surprised me though was overall, I think the art's good, but the Vampirella's face through all of it was not very well done.
Yeah.
And by the way, I love the Linsner cover.
Yeah, there are some great covers for this book, but yeah, this Linsner is just, and the Linsner on issue 2 is really good. It's kind of this same vibe. The Austin Powers kind of vibe.
Yeah, that total 60s feel.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, there's plenty of opportunity for this to come back around and hook me in a way that would make it more appealing, but this book's got some work to do.
Yeah.
All right. So come back over here. The Reveler one shot. This is another one that is a movie tie-in to a movie I had no idea was a movie.
I've never heard of it.
I don't think it's out yet.
Oh. Because I read this, and I mean, Tim Seeley writes the first story. And as I'm reading this, all I can think of is, what in the hell is this?
Yep, 100%.
You get 4 short stories that are all little twisted type things, but it's not like they're O. Henry twists. They're just, yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand the purpose for the comic.
So the pitch line for the movie is tensions rise when a stripper and a religious protester are trapped together in a peep show booth and must come together to survive the apocalypse in 1980 Chicago.
That doesn't sound anything like what we read.
Right. That's the movie.
So what the hell was this?
These 4 stories spin out of that movie. You can watch the movie on AMC Plus.
No, I can't because I'm not buying that.
Right, like that's the thing. Like, you might be able to get it on Shudder. Yeah, it's a Shudder original.
Okay.
Reveler on Shudder is a new horror movie made in the most gorgeously kitsch 80s style with just two main characters who have such awesome chemistry. It effectively becomes a buddy movie as well. Okay. I
Look,
need to have seen the movie to get the comic book. And as such, it makes the comic book not good.
all right. No, I need a minute here. I need center screen. Put me on center screen. I got to talk to the people. Look, folks, I'm an old man. I was 10 years old in 1980. I grew up in the 80s. I went through all of the 80s. They sucked. Okay. The 80s weren't cool. Parachute pants, day glow colors, big shoulder pads. It sucked. Stop doing it. Stop highlighting the 80s like it was cool. Stranger Things is not the 80s, okay? The 80s sucked. Stop going back to it, okay? You're picking and choosing cool things. You're not doing the 80s. Stop it. Okay, we can go back now.
I came about in the 80s. That should be enough reason to never revisit the decade ever.
Yeah, but you were like born in the 80s.
Right. That's why we should never go back there. Mistakes were made the first time. Why would we want to go back?
Yeah, I was there 10 to 20. I saw all of them. I did my teenage years in the 80s. I know Stranger Things, that was my growing up. And no, it's not cool. It's not fun. Stop it.
So if you're going to make a horror movie and then make a comic book one-shot tie-in, maybe the book should come when you buy a ticket to see the movie and not just be released to random comic book stores.
But the thing is that each individual story, I don't understand. It's not like they made sense. They just were like, oh, hey, look, this person's life is fucked. Sorry, language. But that's all it was. It was like, here are 4 people with horrible lives.
Yeah. Not great.
Yeah. There's no feel goodness. There's no, oh, it's just, no. And just when you start caring about somebody, they go, oh, that's the end of that story. We've got 3 more to do.
And I will say this. I did like the art style.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, the art style on some of them was really cool. Like, this book, again, had the potential to be something real good. And then it just was like, hey, you have to have all of this pre-information. The gatekeeping was too high.
You could have given us one good, complete story. Instead, they gave us 4 fragments that really aren't telling the story.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right. Last book is Census #1 by Mark Bernardin and Adam Freeman.
Are we really on the last book already?
Yep. It's all right, because you're on your phone and I have to go to the bathroom.
I know, but we're supposed to do an hour.
Well, if Jay was here to like everything,
True.
and I say that because he's in the comments, so he can hear me trolling him. There's never really been a fun decade, just a time I remember sleeping and not working and having summers where you didn't have to do anything. I don't know what that was like.
Yeah, me neither. I started working at 13.
Same. And even then, I still had to like cut the grass and practice baseball and then get done with baseball practice and practice baseball more. And then cut the grass and then clean the pool and then cut the grass. And then why'd you cut the grass wrong? Cut it again.
Oh, no, I actually got a job at 13 working at a produce market.
Oh, no, so did I. I'm talking about before I was 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Census #1 is a book about a guy who gets a job.
I like this book.
I loved this book.
This was a good book. Who wrote it?
Mark Bernardin and Adam Freeman.
Yeah, Mark Bernardin, the guy who co-hosts the Kevin Smith podcast. And then Adam Freeman, who I think he works for Dynamite doing PR now.
No. Different Adam Freeman.
Oh, okay.
There are 2 Adam Freemans.
How are there 2 Adam Freemans?
Well, it's not that uncommon of a name.
Yeah, but in the comic book industry, 2 Adam
Well,
Freeman?
the Adam Freeman who does PR in the comic book industry is ATOM.
Oh, okay.
I know because I texted him and was like, hey, did you co-write this book with Mark Bernardin? And he went, nah, that's the other guy.
So I do find it funny that both Mark Bernardin and Kevin Smith had a book out this week.
It's true. I don't know about Mark Bernardin co-hosting anything with Kevin Smith.
Yeah, he co-hosts the Kevin Smith podcast.
Are you sure you're talking about the right guy?
I believe so. I would look it up, but
Mark Bernardin is a journalist, public speaker, TV and comic book writer, and podcaster. Yeah, that's him.
Yep. So.
Yeah, Fat Man on Batman.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Rundown on this book. This poor guy is down in his luck. He didn't finish college. He has part of his degree, or he's like a few years away from his degree, whatever. He's pretty much got no job, no life, and he accepts an ad for a job that basically says, "Can you count?" Yeah, you got the job. He's a census taker in New York, which, $34 an hour, I think it was, or $32 an hour. Not bad. But he gets out, and it turns out he's census taking for the supernatural community.
When I was telling people about this book today, I go, it's for the not human stuff.
Yeah. And he gets into a very interesting situation. And I love how they get him out of it.
It's true.
93 seconds later.
Right? Like, not to spoil it, but like the payoff of the first encounter he has as a census taker is one of the funniest things I've read in a comic book in a really long time.
Yep. And I have in that group is going to be back.
Oh, yeah. Well, at the end of the book.
Yeah. The line she says.
Right.
Yeah.
He has to go back into this situation.
5 questions and he only asked 2.
Right. He's got to ask the last 3 questions.
Yep.
So I really like the concept. This is not a concept I've read before, right? Like there's that whole there are no new stories thing that people believe and talk about.
Yeah.
This is not that.
What's amazing? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
This to me feels like the Men in Black meets the more common supernatural, but also like if they were a census taker or a meter maid or something. You know, their day job was their cover was something else. Really a cool concept. Like in Men in Black, do you remember in Men in Black 2 where Tommy Lee Jones was working after he got out of Men in Black?
The post office.
Right. And everyone who works at the post office was an alien.
Yes.
Because it was a really good cover. This feels like that concept, except extrapolated a lot more. And I'm here for it.
What Mark and Adam have done is they have come up with a setup that allows them to tell a ton of stories. He's bound by contract now to do this job.
Until he counts everything.
Yes. And anytime he goes to one of these locations, it could be a unique tale. Because he's going to meet, he's going to have to go to, I'm sure it's going to get stranger and stranger the places he goes. And all the different supernatural options that he could meet, I like how the tablet he got includes safety precautions.
Right. And he didn't bother to read them.
Nope.
This really does feel, let me put this one on you, Dan. Quantum Leapy.
Yes.
you can just keep extending it as long as people are willing to read it.
Yeah.
Like Quantum Leap could have just kept going. Scott Bakula could have kept winding up in random places until people stopped watching the show.
Exactly.
And that is a great way to set up a series.
Yeah, I mean, the conceit they've come up with here is unique, but it's also everlasting.
Yes.
I mean, you've done it that, and if you're worried about, the guy might get old and die. Well, they could say that since he signed the contract, he's not allowed to die.
Right. It's a minor. Well, no, that'd be a major spoiler. He doesn't actually sign a contract.
Right. But you know what I mean.
But he is contracted to do this job. It's very, very kind of, I dig it a lot.
Yeah, I am surprised how much I like this.
Something I do feel compelled to mention, and we're going to start mentioning it on this show. I haven't told Dan or Jay this yet. But when we get these Comixology originals, we want to remind you this is a digital first product. The show is in stores this week. We want to point you to the local comic shop. But one of the cool things about Comixology Press is eventually it will be published.
Yes.
We went through that with We Have Monsters. We kind of read it. We got some of it when it was coming out digitally, and then we read it all again when it was coming out in print. So we're gonna make a point to point these things out. This is digital first, and digital first doesn't. There's a lot of comic book shops that feel like digital first doesn't help them because people can buy it digitally, and then why would they ever come in and buy the book in stores?
Right.
So far, everything we've read from Comixology Press, I don't want to say everything, but for the most part, has been stuff that even though we've read it digitally, I would highly recommend going in and picking up the print copies.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've been very good. So, like I said, I want to point out that it's digital first content, and then remind you that if you maybe pick up issue 1 digitally, and then if you want to read more, wait for it to get printed.
Yep, it'll be from Dark Horse. Dark Horse is printing these. But the other nice thing is that it's available now.
Right.
They put them out Tuesday. So when you're done with the show here, if you want to read what we just talked about, you can go grab it.
Right.
You don't even have to leave your couch.
Right. Like I said, we always want to point you back to the local comic book shop.
Yes.
But, there's a reason we have shows on this channel that deal with Kickstarters.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason that we continue to talk about digital comics. I'm a fan of anywhere where comics get made. So we're not going to exclude anything because of that. But I do want to point out that this is, when it's a Kickstarter that, hey, it's only available through Kickstarter. It might not be available at your local comic shop.
Yes.
This is a digital first content. It might not be available at your local comic shop until it comes out in print. And even then. So just be aware of all the different places. But then remember that we want you to go into your local comic shop every week.
Mm-hmm. And we have ways to see if you go in or not. So if you don't.
He sees you when you're shopping. He knows if you're a flake. Go pick up your pull list before it is too late.
Yes, we also know when you go into the back room and you pick up those books. And if you have, then make sure you pick up Karma, which is on sale now. I've killed Kyle.
Oh my God. All right, that hit me in just the right way. All right, everybody. Head over to comicshoplocator.com, type in the area code where you are, and it will show you where comic shops are near to you. Jay is in North Carolina right now. I don't know if Jay is near any comic book shops, but hopefully he went to comicshoplocator.com and typed in the area code and is finding comic book shops nearby to him. In fact, I know they are because Sean texted me some pictures.
Yep. Yeah, he sent a picture of Karma on the shelf somewhere.
That wasn't the picture I got. I got a picture of. I don't remember now. I have to scroll. Sean sent me a picture of Marvel Tales number. Is that Marvel Tales? Marvel Tales number 1.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, since you're here, I'm curious. Did you see the trailer for Werewolf by Night?
Nope.
Why not?
I don't watch trailers.
Dude. You know who's in it besides the Werewolf by Night and Elsa Bloodstone?
I mean, I assume Man-Thing.
Yes. The
And
Man
Moon Knight.
We're getting Man-Thing in the MCU.
Yeah, I've heard about what was in the trailer because there was a conversation on Friday during Nancy's show about it. But I don't watch trailers. And I swear I tried to get to Moon Knight this week. I really did. Or not Moon Knight, She-Hulk.
Yeah.
But no.
And now you're going to be distracted by Star Trek Lower Decks.
I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah. She-Hulk's a fun show. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's humorous.
I'm still watching Letterkenny.
Why?
The show's hilarious.
No.
Yes.
Okay, first thing, I've watched a lot of the Trailer Park Boys. So I get that kind of humor.
Nothing is as funny as the Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah. Letterkenny is not funny.
Oh, Letterkenny's very funny. I think maybe we're just culturally different in that regard. Because no lie, Letterkenny is like my high school. So anyway, visit comicshoplocator.com. Go into your local comic shop this week and spend $5.
And put in your zip code, not your area code, as Kyle has been saying tonight.
The numbers for the place where you are.
Yes, the zip code, not the area code.
The numbers for the place where you are.
That area code counts for that too.
Okay.
That's why it's called an area code.
Anyway, it'll tell you what numbers to put in. Put those numbers in and find comic shops near you.
See, this is what happens when Jay goes on vacation.
Yeah, pretty much.
And next week, it's going to be Jay and
Dan's on vacation. Right. Hey, you're going to send us books before you leave for your not being here, right?
Yes. Yeah, and you can say
good.
It. I'm having surgery, so it's not a vacation.
I consider them vacations. Of course, I have them so often, it's like going, I have them once every 3-4 months, like other people go on vacation.
Yeah, if you think that a surgery is a vacation, you need to really think about your life and how you're leading it, man.
Well, no, I think about them like vacations because if I thought about them as anything else, I'd get real sad about how many I have had to have.
This is my first.
I did the math on just my left foot, Dan. Just my left foot. I've had 7 since 2017.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like, if you had to, if you include my right foot, that's 2 additional, and if you include my hand, that's another one. Have
you seen the movie My Left Foot?
No, but I've been told that I can do things over. That things are good. My left foot.
Okay.
No, I've not seen the movie My Left Foot. What's it about? Is it about my left foot?
I have no idea. I just know the name of the movie, My Left Foot.
I don't know. I feel like sometimes I should have been the boy in the bubble.
John Travolta.
No, I prefer the remake.
What the hell is the remake?
Bubble Boy.
Oh, no. John Travolta, the original.
Remake. The remake is wildly considered one of the worst films of the 90s. Like, it's right there with Death to Smoochie and Pecker.
I used the concept of the boy in the bubble in a story in an Alice in a Wonderland annual about the House of Lydell that turns out to be haunted. And there's a kid who's stuck in his room through the whole thing as his family is being murdered by the people in the house.
So Bubble Boy actually came out in 2001.
Okay.
Starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Danny Trejo.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Jake Gyllenhaal, Swoozie Kurtz, Marley Shelton, Danny Trejo, John Carroll Lynch, Vern Troyer.
Vern was in it?
Yes.
Aw, I miss Vern. He was a good guy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, no, it's wildly considered to be one of the worst movies ever made. Vern Troyer, by the way, played a doctor in that movie called Dr. Freak. So, all right. We've really stretched this out, and I really do have to go to the bathroom. So
I know
I'm
you
gonna
did.
I'm gonna wrap it up there.
I'm trying to see how long we can make you wait.
Nick finally shows up with the hit the thumbs up button.
Hey, Nick.
So we will see everybody next week for In Stores this week. Bye, guys. Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.